Hi, everyone, if we could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to the Town of Southeast Town Board meeting, Thursday, November 6th. Please note the exits behind you on both sides. To our right, there is also another exit. If you could please put all electronics on vibrate. Kathy, can we get a roll call?
Yes, Councilman Cypress?
Here.
Councilman Larka?
Here.
Councilwoman Lewis? Here. Councilman Mazzata?
Here.
Supervisor Durante?
Here. Okay, so we can jump right into it. Our first order of business is a public hearing. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing for the 2026 budget.
Second.
All in favor? So you guys want to talk about it first, or you want to just have the public come up and?
Yeah, I'll give a quick recap. So just to describe the process a little bit. So the supervisor prepares a tentative budget, and then the town board reviews it, makes changes, and then it becomes the preliminary budget, which is what the hearing is on tonight. We'll vote on it on November 20th, and at that point, it'll be the adopted budget. The supervisor presented a tentative budget with a 10.95% increase to the tax levy. The rest of the town board has been reviewing it the last few weeks, and tonight we're presenting a 3.59% increase, well under the tax cap of 4.23 this year. Just some of the highlights of the changes: we removed the raises for part-time elected officials, so that would be the town board and the town judges. No people were cut, no services were cut. Most of the changes were made on the income side. We felt we had some room to move up our estimates on interest and court fees. We included a portion of the new county sales tax sharing program in our budget. Councilman Larka found a $35,000 expense that was counted twice in the original budget. And we really just made modest adjustments to expenses and overtime. A few meetings ago, the supervisor, and included in the budget, included a new assistant building inspector position. We cut it from that line, but we moved 6 months of it to the contingency line. So if the technology improvements we're going to talk about, and if the supervisor can still demonstrate there's a need, the town board can vote to move that back into the regular budget line. The other thing we did, slightly substantial, is we moved some IT projects from their budget line also to contingency. We're hoping to get some grants to cover some of it, and if we don't get the grants, the town board can vote to move it back. So that's a summary of the changes we made, but again, we're proposing a 3.59% tax levy increase. If anyone else wants to chime in.
Nope, I just would like to acknowledge the amount of work that went into this, and I do. Eric Cypress has done a tremendous amount of work on this, and thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, the last thing you just talked about was, that's not for the computers, correct? The
Well,
hardware and stuff?
Some of the hardware we moved to this
This
year
year.
based on
Yeah.
Councilman Larker's recommendation, that we're going to try to get that in. So those did come out of the budget because
Yes,
we're trying to do it this year. But the biggest chunk was, I forget what you're calling the project, but was related to CB20, and you were applying for a grant on that. So we didn't cut it, we just moved it.
Yep.
If the grant comes through, great. If the grant doesn't come through, we could
We're okay.
review the project and just move it back. So the two big things you asked for are actually still in the budget. We just need to move it around if the need is still there next year.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Excellent, thank you. Do you have anything to say? No. If anyone from the public would like to come up and talk about the budget, now is the time. If no one wants to come up, does anyone from the board have any
We
other
did
comment?
have one email that came in. There was an email from Robert Cullen, who made comments on the budget that will become part of the record and available for inspection upon request.
Okay,
It'll be
And
entered
you'll-
into the
you'll
record.
enter
It'll be
that.
entered into the record.
thank you.
Eric, I don't know if you looked at this, and you know I hate this metric because I think it's smoke and mirrors. But do you know what I think I got it, but the tax rate
So-
impact was?
There's really 4 different tax rates, townwide, not in the village, homestead, non-homestead. So it's hard to quote an exact one. I think in the most common tax, I don't know what to call it, it's about a 10% cut in the tax rate.
Okay,
So-
yeah. So I just want to emphasize that. I mean, the county, they constantly talk about the biggest tax rate cut.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is a
love,
tax rate
rate.
cut of 10% comparatively, but I don't think that's a valid metric. The tax levy increase is the increase, but
right. I try to work towards saving residents real dollars and not use that rate metric.
agreed.
But to his point, it is a 10% cut in our tax rate roughly, so.
Well, thank you, guys. So, yeah, so then next week we'll vote, next meeting we'll vote on that. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing,
Do you need a 5-day
with a 5-day writing period.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we can move to our work session. And today, our first work session is a discussion on 67 Main Street subdivision. Councilman Lark has been all over this, and I will say and give props to him. He was influential in us getting a $50,989 check this week from the iPark program that was coming in to purchase our building, and they defaulted on their contract, so they had to give us money for the building, so we got that this week. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. You want- Oh, okay. So this is about 67 Main Street. We've presented on this twice already, and I've gone to the village and presented on it. But as Nick said, we were in contract to sell 67 Main Street, which is the building that the museum is in, and the Cultural Arts Coalition, to the developers of the village. They were going to purchase that building and 1 Main Street. That project is on pause. I don't know the status. I don't know if it'll ever go through. But we own that building. It's a burden to the town, and there's restrictions because we own it on how it can be used. So we discussed, why don't we subdivide the property and put the building on its own parcel, and then we will remain owners of the remaining part of the parcel. And this way, if somebody wanted to purchase it, like Cultural Arts Coalition or anyone else, they could make improvements and use it for the public. So this is just a rendering from the developers. The yellow line is the property line for 67 Main Street as it currently is today. We ordered a survey a few months ago. We just got that this week. This is a real picture of 67 Main Street and the lot lines associated with it. And this is what we're proposing for a lot line adjustment. So I could zoom in here. So the green line here, these actually used to be 2 separate tax lots at some point. I don't know when or the history. The green line here is the old property line that was dissolved to make it 1 lot, and I don't know, 50 years ago or something. So this is the first time the board's seeing it. I would recommend that we keep that line. It keeps all of this area under the town's control. It still allows for parking, but if you look at the development plan, there was supposed to be some sort of road there, so that could stay if it ever gets developed. This blue line is where I'm just kind of proposing that we cut the property. Originally, the property was squared off here when it was 1 lot. I'm proposing, or I think that we should consider moving it closer to the building, but and we should discuss this. This is that double wide building where we have court records and some documents there. I've been out there, Kathy, you probably know better than me. I'm told it's in very rough shape. It's kind of rotting from the bottom up.
It is.
So, and then if you look here, this was the developer's plan again. This was a parking garage. This was supposed to be a walkway, although I don't think the topography supported that. But the distance here is significantly closer than from here to here. And you can see that there's a brick part of the original building right here, which is this bump out. So that would stay, but I guess for now that building could stay, or it would have to be removed. I'm not sure how that would work. So anyway,
So are the angled parking spaces then gonna be to the right of the subdivision?
this section, yeah, so this will remain in the town's control. Well, they'll both remain in town control. This will be one lot where the building is,
Yeah.
and then the rest, including the parking spots, the drive-through, this parking, will all be the second lot. And, you know, the developer wanted to purchase this property because they wanted the pass-through
Yeah.
from Main Street to Marvin, and they wanted this area to incorporate their parking garage, I don't know, whatever they were gonna do. That's what they really wanted. The building was White Elephant. They didn't need it, and they were going to improve it supposedly and make it open. This will allow somebody to purchase the building, but it'll also allow us in the future, if it makes sense, to either sell that property to a developer or just keep it and keep the parking that we have on there for the train station currently, or for whatever currently.
So if we were to sell that new part, we would just put meters in for parking, like town
If-
parking spaces for the building?
If,
You know what I
if,
mean?
if we were to sell this,
No, the 67,
I think he's worried about parking for, let's say, a
for
feeder
whoever
event.
buys that
Oh.
building.
that's a good idea, to put metered parking.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be metered, we can discuss that, but I would just like to think that while we still own the property, we would allow them to park there. So,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
I'm asking.
yeah, that's a good point.
Awesome.
So there's actually two more things. So one is, and you don't have to answer right now, think about it, and maybe we'll have just an unofficial public hearing where, like we did last time, we don't post it because we're not supposed to, but we can listen to comments. And then also, and determine if we like where these lines are to subdivide. The next step would be to go to the village, since it's in the village, make application for subdivision. And that, I guess it'll have public hearings as part of that approval, right, Will?
Generally, there would be at the village planning board level.
Okay. So, I'll take care of applying to the village, but just let me know about the property lines if you think they're okay.
Not squaring that back end off, making
Those are
it
spots
closer to
there,
the,
right?
to the building. The benefit behind that is in the event that a developer comes in, right?
Yeah,
Is that, okay,
yeah. And,
If they still want to.
yeah, pass through,
yeah,
yeah.
and I'm really throwing a dart here. You know, a developer may come in and say, I need more, and then that would be a discussion with us if we still own it,
Right.
or with whomever owns it at the time.
Okay.
Eric, did the assessor comments change your line at all? Like, honestly, I didn't understand it all, so.
I didn't understand it either. I don't think they changed the lines. That was more about
Okay.
addresses and other stuff I don't understand.
Okay.
All right, so last thing, and this is in case Cultural Arts Coalition or Elena watch this. This is the steps in front of 67 Main Street. This is the old Eagle Eye building, I think it was called, that the county used to own. I don't know if they still do or not. And this is that alley that walks, or that is in between them. And Elena's asked us, I think, for years, to get an easement or to, for a fire escape stairway or something like that. So at its narrowest point, the property line to the building is 3 foot, 6.5 inches. So that would accommodate a 42-inch staircase. I don't know what the code is. So in case you watch this, Olena, there's the answer to that question.
Would that alley be on that lot, or that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the lot line,
Goes to the building, right?
yeah, so this is the building, this is the other building, this black line is the lot line.
Okay.
So it touches the building here. Actually, it's clear of 0.2 feet, plus or minus 2 inches. And then you can see it starts to separate down here.
So you mentioned an easement, so there really wasn't a need for an easement.
I don't know, well, they weren't gonna put a staircase here. I think they wanted to put I don't have the whole document here, I cropped it. I think they wanted to put it down here more, because this is the Cameo building,
Okay.
and there's a really creepy hole back here. Have you guys ever seen that?
Bizarre, yes.
It's really weird. She wanted to put a staircase here, I believe. And if you needed like 48 inches, there's only 42.5, then she would
Got it,
need
got it.
an easement. But I don't know, but I do know there's 42.5 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
You mentioned in one of your emails, to remove the trailer.
Yes.
I talked to Mike, I think they can handle that, because it's metal, most of it, the bottom, I think, is a wood base. but-
Yeah, I think the only complicated thing would probably be pulling the electric out, which probably isn't
Yeah.
that complicated.
Yeah,
And since we got the monies from the sale release, we could tap into that, but yeah, it probably shouldn't be much, and I would prefer if we did that.
yeah, we don't want that to be a liability or anything.
Yeah.
All right, excellent, thank you very much.
If anyone has questions about that, we have public comment at the end, you're more than welcome to comment at the end of the meeting.
All right.
Well, typically, just procedurally, we don't take them during the work session, but if you wait till the end of the meeting, there's public comment, and we can talk about it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so our next discussion is, we're trying to look into digitizing our records in basically all our departments. And we met with the Municity Group that is already has our software in our building department, and our M6 platform that we use to keep in order our properties and what we're doing and permits and all things like that. So we actually had someone here the other day also that was referred by Municity to digitize our records. I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the building department interface more of a public online situation, rather than having to come and fill out paperwork at the window. And we're also working on trying to incorporate credit cards. We don't actually offer that at the building department at this time. So if we can put all this together, down the road, everything should be digital. We don't really have to deal with paper. But in a discussion with, his name was Nick from eBiz Docs, he said if we go to digitalize all the records, it could take up to 2 years. I'll give you those numbers in a minute. So I think that would be a very ample time to help the public and our building department separate from paper. We can't just say, the day we implement this, no more paper, it's all digital, because obviously that would be impossible. So this could be a little bit of a lengthy process, but as Eric and Eric know, it's already been a lengthy process, but at least we're gonna try to get this done. So we got some numbers from Unicity to proceed. And what they're telling us is the total cost for the implementation would be $10,700, not including any particular optional items we want to use, because apparently there's a lot of stuff that we may not be using that you can use as an option. So the breakdown of that cost was, for the first year, the Municity Connect would be $2,000 a year, but the implementation cost would be $2,800 because there is a maintenance fee in the first year, and the $7,900 is the actual service and training for this initial connection to the service. So right now, our yearly cost is $10,095. So if we implement this, the yearly cost would be $12,094. And each year, it basically goes up a very slight percentage for the first 3 years. And then I guess we would renegotiate after the first 3 years. So Kathy was with me when we were down there, and if we get this service, it's gonna be such an easier task for everyone involved. And in the 2-year time for the records, everything can be digital. Foils
Yes.
with Laserfiche can be obtained from residents, and we can actually control what information they can see. Obviously, you know, they shouldn't be seeing everything. So the Laserfiche is a separate, actually, before I get down that road, if we implement this, we also have the opportunity to implement planning and zoning. And right now, Jackie Lester is already pretty much, anything comes in is digital. It's not really paperwork anymore. She's right on top of it. And if we don't do the planning and zoning, when we do the initial, we're gonna incur another cost when we go and do the planning and zoning. And I understand that cost would be $8,200, because it's like a rework of putting the software in, when if we do it up front, it would only be, where's that number? It's a very, very minimal cost, because they're actually working with all the software. I thought I had that number. We don't have it. I'll find it for us. But basically, I kind of also suggest that we do the planning and zoning at the same time, so that we don't have to do it again down the road, and everyone gets trained at the same time, so that it's not a back and forth. And, you know, this is just something once we start, we gotta go forward. But it will definitely change the way the building department's efficiency is on that end of it. So, the Laserfiche.
Can I say,
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
before Laserfiche, are you not suggesting we do the building application?
Oh, yes,
option?
no, yes,
Okay,
yes, I'm sorry. I
so all
mentioned that.
3.
Yes, so that would make it all digital.
But you think that 82 will be less?
Yes, oh, no, it's considerably less.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't write the number right there. He was telling me,
If we do it from the beginning.
yeah.
So this, well, let's finish, but this part of the project, 100% on board with. I mean, Eric and I wanted to do this
Yeah.
last year or so.
And, you know, to your guys' credit, when I got here, you guys were knee-deep in this, and, you know, it wasn't very smooth in the beginning, so I think I'm at the point too where we could really implement this and stay on top of the building department. And, you know, like, if I'm talking about hiring another enforcement officer, this is something we have to do. to see what the need is, basically.
Right, yeah.
To Eric's point, I'm excited. I wish we did this sooner. I'm all in for making the investment. The biggest concern I have, having lived through 2 implementations of
Right.
M5, is, you know, we need to have a project manager. Someone needs to be assigned to this, and it needs to be, in my opinion, one person that could really make this successful. So I'm in for the investment, but the implementation makes me nervous.
Do you have a thought?
I don't, maybe we could talk about that offline, but,
Yeah.
you know, I, before we spend the money, which I want to spend, I'd say, let's do it tomorrow.
Have
I need to feel comfortable that, because last time we had to stop and redo it, and then we had to do it again. It wound up costing us a lot more money.
Okay.
So, I think we need just a plan on
Who's
how,
gonna be the,
who's gonna be, how is it gonna get rolled out? And we could work with Dan Foster at Municity to
Yeah.
do this, but what updates are there gonna be? What are the deadlines? What are the goals?
yeah, you could probably set that up for us, right? Like,
Yeah.
because obviously they've done this before. Okay.
Right, but usually you have someone on our side as well.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
can follow
I
through.
meant set up like the schedule and the deliverables, so it's
Oh,
clear, like a
okay,
clear,
okay.
like, here's the expectations from them, which I think is, some of it's in here a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and from us, because we both have to be aligned for us to be successful. We should be doing this. This is way more complicated than it sounds, especially when you get in the weeds. So that's my only.
Yeah, I hope I made it kind of clear, because like you said, there's a lot, it is complicated. And then after I talk about all this, Kathy says Laserfish, and my mind goes, yeah. So, but just to, before I actually talk about Laserfish, so we had a company called EBZ Docs that Dan Foster actually recommended. They are compatible with Municity, and he basically came down and gave us, and looked at our records, measured out our records to give us a price. But this is where we came up with an issue. He couldn't just give us a price, because in 2018 and last year, we used a company called IMA, who is also on the New York State ID contract for procurement. So we basically can't say to 2 companies in this purview, hey, give us a price, and go to the other guy and ask for a price. The reason they're in this program is that all the pricing is generally the same. So in order to use this eBizDoc company and get a number from them, we have to basically drop the IMA company. And we have to have a reason for that. And our reason is they don't deal with Municity like eBizDocs does.
So it doesn't interface?
Yeah, there'd be another couple of steps for them to get it into our system. So just some of the numbers, he told me today that he estimates we'll have over 1 million documents to scan. That's how long it's been that these records are being saved. He says it's approximately 517 form boxes. So there's a lot of stuff there. That's why he was saying we should implement it over 18 months to 2 years, so that they don't take all the records at once. They take a portion, they scan them, they get them into our system, and then they come back and get more, and they do everything. So I don't know any pricing at all. The only thing I do know is that I'm sorry.
No.
We're eligible for a grant next year. And what he was telling us, if the town makes the effort and spends a little money up front to have them do one portion, it makes the grant,
More valuable.
yes, the state would be more willing to give us the
We would be,
grant.
they would consider us invested. It's an archive grant. New York State Archive grant. As an individual town, you get 75,000, up to 75,000. If you were to be, like the county did with multiple, you can get 150 in a year.
Do we have any idea? I mean, is it $10,000 or $200,000?
So let me give you an example. So the last year with the payroll records, we were estimating 60 boxes of payroll records. We were estimating 3 years of marriage and death records and 3 years of minutes. That was about $30,000.
That's about 100
So this
boxes,
seems
yeah.
like 10
So-
times as much.
Correct.
He
How
did
much was
also, he did also say that the second year, we might be able to go after that grant again.
That is correct. You could do it
Okay.
every year. That is
Yeah,
correct.
so if we
Yep.
spread it out even, for 2 years, then we could definitely tap for 2 grants.
300,000 is a lot.
It's a lot of money.
You know, I think at that point, we would need to prioritize what we want digital and not.
Well, that's the other thing too,
Yeah.
when he gives us a number, he was going to break it down, building department, planning department, zoning department. Was there
That was it.
anything from you?
Special districts. No, not for me.
Districts,
No.
yeah. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I have a bunch of questions, actually. So, town clerk's been working with the county version of Laserfiche. This is a different version of Laserfiche, and a few weeks ago, CB20 was here presenting going digital with SharePoint. So it's like we have 3 digitization projects going on different platforms, so, like, where do we land?
well, that was something.
So, it's technically 2, Laserfiche or SharePoint for the records. If you were to go with Laserfiche, you could do that option with the public that they can actually just look at the public records as far as like certificates of occupancy, permits, things like that that have been given the common things. You wouldn't give them access to everything. If you put it into SharePoint, you don't have that same ability. So that was one of the reasons with Laserfiche. If you do it in Laserfiche versus SharePoint, it's 2 different file types, TIFF versus PDFA, which is an archival quality PDF. That's a more universal, people are able to see that a little better. So it really depends on how you want to do it.
So if we stuck just with the 2 Laserfiches, which obviously sounds better, they're separate instances of Laserfiche still though, right? So like, your project is totally separate than the building project, even though it's the same software?
That is correct. You create different series, and you create, and then you allow, you make, you give access to who should have be able to see that series.
But would you still be piggybacking on the county?
I
or
do,
you'd move to
I
the-
would move everything
Okay,
into ours.
so we'd
yeah.
end up with one Laserfiche that we
Correct,
own?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Money-wise, we originally had $42,000 in ARPA money that we allocated towards
Digital.
Yes, in the beginning, yes.
the digital, which then when we pulled that project, we moved it to scanning, and I believe we're in a contract for that.
Yeah.
So,
Is that with the IMA company?
Mhm.
so if we leave IMA, do we lose that $42,000?
He did say we could use both of them. In the conversation I had, I
What do
believe
you
that's
mean
what he
use
said.
both of what?
We could use IMA to finish what they're doing, and then we can use eBizDoc.
Yes,
to-
that is very true. Yes, you can. I don't know that IMA doesn't know how, it doesn't have a knowledge of Municity. I haven't asked them yet.
Would you mind if I reached out to the county and asked if we change vendors,
No.
if that would be a problem? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause-
The county is the one who recommended IMA to us.
I think he's talking about the
Yeah.
ARPA money.
Yeah,
Right.
for the
and
ARPA
it-
money.
Yeah,
Right,
and I
that's
know
what I'm
they're
saying.
called IMA, but we have an
Yes.
IMA with the county.
Yep.
where
Oh,
we-
yes, I
Where
see
we
what you're
said
saying,
where
yes.
where we're spending the money.
Yep.
So, and then another thing is somewhat related. I think we're gonna come under in the Cobb Road project of ARPA money. And I know we're technically past the deadline, but if we're gonna ask the county for a favor, I think I'd ask them for both. So, like, do we have a final Cobb Road number yet?
We're not final yet, right? We just put out a big check this week?
Cobb Road.
Yeah.
everything's spent. We have one more submission to the county, just waiting for canceled checks. But I believe all the work is done, so I would know that number. Okay, yeah, if you could get me that number, and then I'll ask them both questions, and maybe we could save some of that money.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's why, thank you, Kathy, because once he starts talking about formats of records, I don't get all of that. So to the Laserfish side of this, that number's a little bit bigger than. So if I am correct in my assumption, my research on this, basically Laserfish has a few different tiers. I believe on your sheet, that first tier is at 29,000, is to get the initial software, I believe, and get everything into it. And then there are some services on the bottom, like the crafted foil automation. That's what we're talking about, where the public can actually foil items. And I would assume if they can't foil everything they're looking for, then we would still have to
That is correct.
finish the foil for them. But that will save us some time, for sure. I don't think they could actually change any records or anything. Everything's very protected. So that whole service module is $14,000. And I believe, I don't have the,
Those look like implementation costs.
yes.
The 14,000.
Not
Yeah, I'm trying to
software.
see the yearly. But there
It's
is
a couple of pages later.
Is it?
The tier 25 to 49, does that represent number of users? It feels high.
Maybe
but-
licenses.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that does seem kind of high, right?
right, I mean, would 25 people, you
No,
know, Kathy,
definitely
would
not.
25
No.
people be using that?
Maybe
Yeah, so-
5. Unless maybe
So
that's
if
their
that does-
lowest. Yeah.
Is that an annual amount for licenses?
It's a couple of pages later, the ongoing,
The 10,000.
somewhere.
I know it was in here somewhere. But basically, to get that Laserfish, that's gonna be our implementation cost, but then it's ours. It's not, we're not sharing it with the county. We can get any record we want.
well, with the yearly fee, yeah.
Page 13, it looks like.
I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, it's on page 13. Numbers are higher. Yeah, that's the page right
Yeah, the foil is actually 6,200.
Oh, but no, that's still first year.
Yeah.
Somewhere,
year.
we need a year two, and I know it was somewhere in here.
Well, I could definitely find that number. I'll give Dan a call, or
Because
Dave.
I think where Alex is going is.
It's an
you know,
annual
another
recurring.
$30,000
Yeah, that's a
year
lot of
is-
money.
Is a lot of money, so.
there. Yeah,
I'll get that number. So, yeah, that's where we stand. So I guess, all right, then, so my
So,
next.
I'm sorry,
Oh, go
so
ahead.
check number of users and check the
Yep,
year two
Copy.
and forward.
Just digitizing the records will help with the foils, because I won't have to send them down to the building department. I can just go in and email it to the people. So there would be less, it would be less volume on them, except for the more complicated ones.
Yeah.
Where people do need to go in.
yeah, $30,000 can translate into manpower.
Yeah, we just need
Yeah.
to know that number.
Yeah,
But-
And
And,
they
you know,
actually-
hopefully 25 is too high a user count, and,
Right.
you know,
I think it's in the
5 times
footnote.
1,100, that's a lot better.
I don't know if you know, but when somebody foils and they have to go to the building department, they're sitting at Bonnie's desk. So that's a whole nother distraction for them, because, you know, usually the resident asks for help things like that.
Well, if they only are looking for specific records, they can be emailed to them. They don't necessarily have to go into the building department. That's only if they actually want to view the file. If they're not, if they just want specific stuff, the building department can just scan and email it to them.
Okay.
It's here, 32,
So,
225.
all right, so I guess really finding
After
out
year
those
one.
things are
I believe that's it.
first, but really then the next step is to set the plan with
Oh, yeah, there
Dan
it is.
and Dave.
Yeah, just, I know I'm harping on that a little bit too, but what we ran into last time was just capacity, right? We talked about the building department being very busy and behind. This will provide relief, but an implementation like this is intensive work effort. And there's times of the year where they're slower. They had to shut the building department down for a few days for training and kind of rolling things
Yeah.
over. So that needs to just be part of it. Project plan, I think, is going to be extremely important in timeline for it.
They could prepare for it by having less, starting with having people give them digital applications as well as a paper one.
First.
That's what Victoria started with the planning department, that's what I started with
That's what
the
I'm
town
guessing.
clerk's office. I get paper and digital, and that way it gets started. We can also start the credit cards in the office right now too.
Okay.
So it get people used to that digital, and for those that are the laymen, help them to learn how to do it. Just scanning a file or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I think we have do we have multiple payment providers for credit cards? We have like one for rec, one for,
Yeah, Rec is online, on their own setup online.
I think it goes with the
Kathy has
software.
one. Is the courts different than ours?
The court, they don't take credit cards. They do
Yeah,
now?
yeah, they-
Oh, really? Oh,
Well,
all right, but
the
that-
user fee is paid for by the person that uses the credit card.
Yeah, we would definitely
just see if we
bolt
can
it together.
consolidate.
Yeah, I think the lesson is just keep everything simple and stop doing different things.
One item that I would just like to add, especially, and I'm fully in favor of going forward with this, is let's just take the opportunity to revisit our processes and not force our current processes into municipality, but rather allow us to re-examine them and land where they should be, right? Because I've been
Yeah,
through a
I thi-
lot of these before where you don't change your process and you just introduce a software and you just kind of, you force it.
Right, but to his point, and Eric knows better
think
than
that's what
anybody, when we did this
Yes.
the first time before any of us were on the board, we made the software follow our processes versus changing our
yes.
processes to
it.
be more
And shame on the
efficient,
company,
so.
and we've had this talk, because
Well, they took our money,
they
so.
over-accommodated us,
Yes.
and, but I agree.
Okay.
But yeah, that
Be sure
section
to
is where it
follow
should
that,
cover,
yes.
but to Alex's point, we need to be committed to making those changes, so.
Okay. Anything else on that, guys?
No, sounds great.
So we can go to our next discussion, which is the 2026 Water District rates. I have Bruce Bridges, our Special District Administrator here, Ron Hunt, our accountant, and George Palmer from Han Engineering. I said it right, George? Okay. Who has just been on board with us for a few months. But before you guys come up, I have to read something, something I wrote. So just to kind of maybe explain a little bit about what happened last meeting and what's been going on in the town for the past few years. So I do need to speak about last week's meeting first. I was not prepared. I did make the mistake of not having the proper people here who are here tonight. So if you were here last week or you're listening to the recording, I apologize for any inconvenience that I caused by having you come down here again tonight. Tonight, we are 110% prepared, right? Raise your hand, yes? So we're going to answer any questions, and we're going to answer questions to the people that weren't here. But I just need to address a comment I've heard more than once. And the comment is that we are kicking the can down the road. Hearing this is rather disheartening because it couldn't be any further from the truth. The reason these issues are surfacing now is precisely why we, as a board, are here. We're here to stop the can from being kicked down the road further. As someone who's been a resident of Southeast for 50 years, I want it to be clear that I'm not here to raise taxes or raise district rates just to make the town money. This is Southeast. I live here too. I pay all the bills that everybody else pays. We're not just another municipality. We are Southeast. And since I've been here and I look at the neighboring towns, we are head and shoulders above these other towns, how we treat each other and how respectful we all are to each other. And I'm not here to make that road bumpy. I'm here to make that road as smooth as I can make it. So, unfortunately, years of neglect and deferred maintenance has brought us to this point where we are and where we sometimes have to make difficult decisions. What we are doing now is responsible. We're addressing the problems that have been pushed aside for so long, and we're trying to set the town up for a stronger, more sustainable future. For almost 7 years, most of our water and sewer districts did not implement any rate increases. I'm not saying names, I'm not saying departments. All I'm saying is when I look at the records, this is what I see. In all of my years of experience, I have not encountered any service that can substantially operate without periodic adjustments. Additionally, many of these districts fail to plan for scheduled maintenances, which is both essential and in most cases required to maintain reliable service for the people that are using the service. Operations of any, and this was a question that came up last week, operations of any public district in New York State, be it sewer, be it lighting, be it water, whatever it is, there are mandates by the state that the providers have to abide by. There's monthly tests. Water districts are daily monitoring. There physically has to be someone that goes to the district every day and look at things to make sure everything is running correctly. Someone did mention last week that we're testing water every week, and that's not every day, and that's not true. We don't do that. When PFAS came online, the testing did increase, and that's something we're working on. So some of these mandates do vary from what type of plant there is. All in all, though, the state mandates are all on procedures, and Bruce has information on what the state mandates. I think we put it up on the website so that everyone can go on the website and see what the state has us do to make sure these plants are running correctly. So I just needed to say some of those things because last week I definitely wasted a lot of people's times, and I'm sorry about that. So tonight, we're going to have Bruce come up. Bruce is going to start talking to us about the districts, and we'll go from there. We have Ron, and then we'll bring George up to tell us what some of our future endeavors are going to be. So come on up there, Bruce. You can tell everybody, Bruce lives in Blackberry Hill. I won't give you the number, but he pays sewer and he pays water bills.
Yes, we do. And drink the water. Well, I don't know, do you want to start with
Whatever
the
you want to do.
projects to be done, or with the rates, they kind of...
You can talk about the rates first. You got Ron with you.
All right, why don't we do that?
Rates?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up the rates here. What district are you going to start with, Ron?
I'll start from the beginning, Blackberry Lighting.
Okay?
Okay, Blackberry Lighting, the proposed rate for '26 is $120 per quarter. That's a $7 increase for a total of $28 for the year. Let me just preface, every district we're going to talk about tonight, the main drive behind the increase is inflation. Every product, every part, every pump, screws, everything is costing more. And as we all know, as homeowners, we have spike in electricity costs, and all the plants have experienced that. And we couldn't foresee this when we did the budget last year, so of course there's budget shortfalls. So like I said, with Blackberry Lighting, it's $120 for the quarter, $7 increase, $28 for the year. Blackberry Park.
Wait, Ron, before you move forward, can you just tell us, the last line is the fund balance?
Oh, sure.
So just so we know that,
Yeah.
you know, this is all.
Part of the reason why, I mean, $7 doesn't seem like a lot. Last year, we increased it by $3. This year, we increased it by more because the electricity costs, we're predicting at the end of this year to have a deficit of about $1,900, and that's going to eat into the fund balance that the district has been carrying forward. So that we're going to project at the end of this year, there's actually going to be a negative fund balance of about $455. Doesn't sound like a lot, but districts are not supposed to run in the red. We have to do whatever we can to get them back into the black. So that's why it was a little bit more of an increase this year than last year.
Thank you.
Next one, Blackberry Park. It's the same thing again with the inflation and spike in electricity. The rates for 26 are going to be 140. They were 130 last year, so that's $10 a quarter. It's just $40 for the year. Again, if you could see in the red, we're predicting a deficit for this year, and that is mostly electricity, and we also did have to replace a pump in the pool this year.
So Ron, just to be clear, the Blackberry Park and Bruce, it's the pool. Nobody else outside of Blackberry or the condos can use that park.
No, they can. They all pay into it.
No,
But
like
the
I can't.
residents of that
Oh,
special
I'm sorry, I
district.
thought you meant, yeah,
Brewster Hill residents
the
can't.
condos and the homes in Blackberry District, that's for them,
That's why they have to support that park.
yes.
And I'd like to add that it's not on here, is that the town takes care of that park. We provide the lifeguards, but
Well, yeah.
that does come out of this.
That's a
Okay.
big part of it, that's a big part of a lot of lifeguards and running the pool all summer.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next district. Blackberry Sewer. Oh, I'll just touch on refuse. Refuse is basically generated from the town puts out a bid for the garbage pickup. I think the contract for next year, I think they have a clause in it for about a 3% increase. This number is an estimate because what happens is whatever we need to raise to pay the contractual cost for the refuse district, it goes to the county and they take the number of parcels, the residential parcels, and then that's calculated and that's how they come up with the rate. So it's not much of an increase. Okay. Blackberry Sewer. The 2026 rate is $230 a quarter, which is a $10 increase per quarter, $40 for the year. And we're in the same boat. In 2025, we're projecting a deficit, which is sewer plants. We have three sewer plants, and they use the most electricity, a lot of electricity. And like I said, I think we're running 30% above budget for electricity.
Yeah, because both of those sewer plants have items that run 24 hours a day.
This district is in good shape as far as our fund balance. Well, we thought it would be good. You know, we had a $10 increase last year, so we stuck with that this year.
Hey, Ron, question about the fund balances.
Yes.
Obviously, part of it is because you budget and sometimes the expenses are coming in less and it just builds over time.
Correct.
You're probably also building in a contingency every year for increased cost,
We try to, yes.
right? And I'm imagining that's how you can amass a surplus like this over time? Anything else that would lead to a
Well,
larger
here's the other thing
surplus?
too. With the sewer districts, the DEP pays for some costs. And when we budget for that, we really don't know what the costs are gonna be and what they're gonna reimburse. So we have to be on the conservative side and kind of budget for that. And sometimes it comes through, they end up paying for things that we may not expected. So when they end up paying for that, we already budgeted for it because we don't know, we don't know what, we know for the most part what they're gonna cover, but there's things that come up and we negotiate with them and say, okay, and then they agree to pay for it. So that could also lead to fund balance.
And is there any limit to, or best practice as to how much balance you can accrue within a district? Is that discretionary, or?
No, the controller's office, they used to have, and I forget what it was, they used to get on you if you had too much fund balance, but then they backed off that and said, it's good to have about 1 year's worth of a budget and contingency.
Okay.
And right, excuse me, right now, none of our districts.
Well, some of them do, some of
Yeah,
them do.
They are, okay. The smaller ones, right?
Ron, do you have like your own target? Like the park, the fund balance is, I don't know, 60 or so % of their yearly expenditures, but like sewer's only maybe 20-something %. Like, you know, I realize there's things out of your control, but do you have like a target of where you try to keep the fund balance in relation to the size of the district?
What I'd like to do is ultimately keep it level. We don't necessarily have to increase, and it also depends on if projects come up, like we might plan ahead, have a capital improvement plan, say, listen, 3 years down the road, we can do this because we have fund balance, or we don't want to touch the fund balance, let's go out and bond that. So I don't think we really target a certain thing. I try to keep it level to plan for unexpected things.
Okay.
I mean, that's something that could be discussed with the board, with Bruce. Do we want to have a certain target?
Yeah, I know we're working towards the forward-looking plan of expenses, but, you know, if we could ever, like, lock that down and have a good view of what's coming, and then if we work with Ron on setting a target, like, our fund balances won't just be all over the place, negative, you know, too big in one, too small in another.
Well, I think
so-
too, a little part of that is some of these items at these bigger plants are a lot of money, and, you know, you don't know when they're gonna break, kind of thing. Because I think right now, Blackberry, there was something that broke, that was 40,000 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, for the budget, I know there's got to be like an O&M line. Do you just use a run rate of like things that break and need repairs? Or how, because you don't know, things are going to break every year. How do you budget for that and maintain a fund balance?
Well, I mean, working with VRI, we try to, you know, look out into the future 3 to 5 years and estimate what lifespans are left on some of these, you know, major products and stay ahead of it. But, you know, there's no guarantees.
Right, but the budget isn't just, so you have a portion of the budget's in there for when things break. If you have a good year, it goes to fund balance. If you have a bad year, you're drawing from it.
Yeah.
But you
We-
feel comfortable what you budgeted for that?
We do budget for equipment replacement
Okay.
every year, and some years we get lucky, and some years it's not enough.
Right, okay.
Okay, where were we?
Brewster Heights Sewer?
Brewster Heights, okay.
Excuse me.
Brewster Heights Sewer, 2026 rate is going from $234 to $240. That's a $6 per quarter raise, $24 for the year. It's the same thing, inflation and spike in electricity costs. I do want to point out that if you see that there's a projected 541,000 fund balance, that may seem high, and some of that may go down, because what happens is the DEP, we make a budget for every year for expenses that we anticipate that DEP is going to reimburse us for. And say we have a $100,000 budget, they pay us quarterly $25,000 for that $100,000. Then what they do is, at the following year, they reconcile all those costs. We have to submit our costs, and what happens is year to year, they may have paid us too much, we have to give back, or they didn't pay us enough, and we get, they owe us money. So in 2024, there's a big project in Brewster Heights Sewer, I forget what it was. I don't know if it was the membranes.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. We put $240,000 into the DEP's budget to reimburse us for that. What happened was, the costs were a little bit less, not a lot less, but maybe $90,000 less. So they already reimbursed us for that. So what's going to happen, they're working on the reconciliation. I should probably have that any day now to know whether the district is going to have to pay back. So I suspect, and I don't know what that number is, so I just project. So that's why the fund balance may seem high, but I suspect that when they do this reconciliation, we're going to have to give back some money.
And Ron, this also includes the Eagles Ridge sewer, Brewster Heights sewer.
Yes, Brewster Heights
Yeah,
is
it's
also
the same.
part of Eagles Ridge.
That's why it's 384 units, because that's condos and homes.
For Brewster Heights Sewer, there's a big capital project that needs to happen. I understand, like the carousel.
Yeah, George is actually going to talk about that.
Okay.
when it comes
Oxidation
up.
ditch.
Yeah, okay. And that's not included in this budget anywhere, right?
Correct.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
just touching out, last year, we've raised the rates to start preparing for that.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, next one. Should be Peach Lake. Peach Lake has is a very, I don't know what the word is, but when it was started up, we're in conjunction with North Salem, town of Southeast North Salem, both own this plant. And when the rates were devised, they did it by bedrooms, because if you have more bedrooms, you have more sewage to break down and all that kind of stuff. So Warren Lucas, the supervisor for the town of North Salem, when this first came on board, this is how they structured the rates. So we have a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, and a 4-bedroom, and you can see the number of units for each one of these. So in 2026, each of the categories, the bedrooms, went up by $13 per quarter, with an increase of $52 for the year. And this is another case. This was strictly raised for inflation and electricity.
We still have to meet with Warren. Apparently, in the district, there were a couple of homes built.
Yeah, I
So
think-
they will inherit a little bit more of the plant than they
And
have
right now, North Salem pays 74% of the cost, and Southeast picks up 26%. And it all gets reconciled at the end, because North Salem, they pay a majority of the expenses from their funds, and we pay some. This year, we did pick up a lot of the sludge removal, which is a big expense, big expense. So at the end of the year, we reconcile. Sometimes, usually we owe them because they paid 74% of it. This year, I think they're going to owe us some money, but we'll see how that works out.
Ron, is that total users or that's Southeast users? The 120?
What you're looking at?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is just,
That's us.
this is just the Southeast. Yeah, this came up in the past. Somebody who lives in North Salem said, or somebody who lives in Peach Lake, how come if their rates are different?
Yes.
Well, the major reason is North Salem has 74%, and they took out a much bigger bond than we did. Okay, Brewster Heights Water. This is the one district that had some lot of repairs and some expenses that were unexpected and not budgeted for. So in 2026, I'll also point this out too. Last year, 2024, we went from a flat rate for everything. A flat rate of everything. Brewster Heights used to have a $15,000 gallon. First 15,000 you didn't pay extra, and then it was a penny after that. And then we institute pretty much district-wide, all the water districts. We went to eliminating the allowance, and we charge them a penny for every gallon. And last year, we held off on Eagles Ridge. There's only 24 units there, and we wanted to make sure that we had the right. What happened in the past is we had some meters put in, and some of them were gallons, some of them were cubic feet, and that wasn't translated to the accounting department. So when we put the information into our system automatically, when you have a gallon meter, adds two decimal places to it. So before we said, let's get rid of the usage for Eagles Ridge last year, we said, let's just make sure all the meters are kosher, they're what we think they are. And we had VRI go out, and that's all been confirmed. So what we decided this year is the Brewster Heights and Eagles Ridge that are metered are going to pay the same rate.
And to touch, because you might not understand this, but we are now in the second cycle of charging per gallon. So the first whole year, we had to figure out what the numbers were going to be. So that's why this year, we decided that they need to be the same, and the usage charges will be the same. And were you going to talk about the meters and why there aren't all in there?
Well,
You can talk when he's done. I just want to make sure we talk about that, because that was a question.
So what's
last
going to happen is Eagles Ridge, they're going to pay the same flat rate, but now they're going to pay every gallon.
Yeah.
And based on usage in there, I think their bills are going to be, they're going to go down. They're not going to
Yeah.
go up because you're using so much.
week. Yeah.
So in 2026, Brewster Heights and the Eagles Ridge that are metered, we increased them to $300 from $260, so that's a $40 per quarter, $160 for the year, and I'll get to in one moment to why we did that. Rates increased for inflation and spike, and also in 2024, I don't know if you could see that, there was a $94,000 deficit, and that deficit came because of unexpected water charges. We had to bring in water from when Drewville, the issue we had with Drewville, and also the district purchases water from New York City, and their rates went up, and there was also more usage. So there was about $77,000 of water charges that we had to pay that weren't budgeted for. And there were some repairs done for $24,000, so that led to the deficit, which took us even further in the red for fund balance in '24. So in '25, we raised the rates to anticipate the Drewville Road pump station and improvements for the sand filters that have to be replaced there. And you could see in '25, we raised the rates, and we're projecting a surplus of $66,000, which will cut into that fund balance, negative fund balance we had in '24. We were hoping that it would be a little bit more to almost completely wipe that out, but that wasn't the case. So that's why.
Ron, but when you said the city charges for use of the reservoir, that we buy water, or they buy water from them. Is that on a usage rate, or is it a flat rate?
It's gallons.
Yeah, so how many gallons, I believe they have a meter right there
Yeah.
that passes through all the water that goes to the district.
So, and you may not know this, that's fine, but I know when we went to metered billing by usage billing, we hoped or anticipated there'd be a decrease in consumption. I think we said we ballparked like 10%. Are we
Yeah.
seeing a decrease?
Well, I tried to come up with something that makes sense. I looked at every district.
Nothing?
There's no rhyme or reason. Some
Okay.
went up, some went down. Obviously, in the summer usage, like this summer especially, it was very hot, and
Okay.
there was a lot of usage. I compared it to the previous summer, and it went up. But I can't say, oh yeah, throughout the districts, that since we instituted that the water usage dropped. I would say it has not dropped as much as I would have expected.
Okay. And I think that's important to know, because when we went to that, I thought the only savings would be wear and tear, chemicals, equipment, whatever, but I didn't realize we were paying per gallon for water as well, so it's helpful.
Yeah, so everyone understands that from when the rain falls in the reservoir, for some reason, New York City owns that and we gotta pay for it. It makes no sense, but we gotta pay for it. That was a little sarcasm, I'm sorry.
Next district.
Oh, Ron, one question
Sure.
before
go
we
ahead.
move on. So, can you walk us through how you estimate for these sand filters, right, that are coming 5 years from now, $1 million?
That's
Like, where do you
That's a best guess.
start? And
Well, we're not trying to, this is probably a little misconception, we're not trying to raise rates to eventually get to $1 million, because that, you can't.
No,
you
I
can't-
realize that.
You can't do that.
But what is the thought behind it? Like,
The thought behind it is when it does go to construction or whatever, there's going to be an increase in the debt and the interest, and it's going to be a big one. And so we're trying to plan for that, so it's not a big jump when that happens.
and do we have an idea when we expect the repairs to be made and what the cost for the job will be?
Like,
I think George would speak more to that, and
Okay.
Alex.
But following on last year's 3 to 5 year plan, rolling it forward, it would be in the next 3 to 4 years. The $1 million plus estimate was from VRI subject. I mean, who knows what can happen
Right,
with,
yeah.
with pricing. But it was a best guess to start the process with, and we've used it, to put in for some of the grants, but it is a work in progress. So,
But I think part of it is because, this was a public document, it was shared, that language of replace sand filter, it was picked up on by some of the residents. So it just, introduced, well, how's that being calculated? And they were trying to figure out the math. And there's no way to figure out the math, and we were here a couple weeks ago. Obviously, we couldn't explain it, and as you're mentioning now, we don't know what it is yet either.
Like Ron, you said, you're not trying to get the whole million, but we don't know what you're trying to get to, I think.
Right, we're trying to plan ahead, because as Supervisor mentioned before, there was really not too much planning. And then everything hit the fan, and then we had to pay for it. And there was big increases. We're trying to not get those big increases.
Right, but you must have had a number in your head, like, I want to get to $100,000, I want to get to, and that's
Oh,
all,
yeah,
we're just
I would
trying
say,
to understand
I
a
would
little
say, yeah,
more of the process.
The rates were definitely, it was definitely under 100,000, probably 50 to 75,000.
Ron, this says that there's a bond expiring or maturing in 2032, which I guess would line up pretty well with this filter project. There's two bonds. Gee, I don't know if you could answer this question, but what would that debt replacement of a new bond to pay for sand filters be partially covered by that bond expiring? I don't know if I'm asking
No,
that the right way.
I would,
You are.
I know what you're trying to get at. Most likely not, because if you can see, we have $502,000 worth of debt service that's outstanding. So
Yep.
that probably works out to $75,000 to $100,000,
That bond
that
payment?
bond. So I suspect if you're taking $1 million divided by 20, so what is that?
Well, it's probably 2 million after interest and everything.
Yeah,
right?
well, right. So I would suspect that the bond interest payments are going to be more than what we currently have.
But there is
So
some.
there will be
debt-
an offset.
There's some debt replacement there?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you only bond out for 20 years?
Yes.
One more question on the Heights. It says the district has loans of $750,000 million outstanding with the town.
Right. That's to cover their deficit that they're running right now, which we're trying to recoup, and the cost of Druryville and the water that we had to pay for.
Is that accrued amount? In other words, I know that there's still some money owed on that project, and I think there's some disagreement on what we owe at this time. Have you accrued for that expense?
No,
No.
because I don't
All the
know.
all the bills are paid though already, right, for that?
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Right.
wondering if you accrued for the balance, which would have been a good, not that you didn't accrue is a bad thing. If it
Yes.
was accrued for, it would be a good thing if we didn't have to pay that. But that's not in that
Right, if
number.
that came to fruition, then it would help.
That's what they just said.
So is the real fund balance then, negative $750,000 million?
No,
I mean, maybe not fund, but the,
Loan balance.
Right, isn't it
There's a
the
loan balance.
88 plus 762, or no?
well, part of that 762 is loans. It's also for the capital project. So the district, part of this is the district, part of it, how do I explain?
is the 512 debt service part of that 700?
No. Part of the 762, I think, is about 250,000 for the operating district, for the Brookside's water operating part of it. The other part, expenses for the Druryville Road go into a capital project. It's separate from this. Because so theoretically, if they had loans of 762,000, we would say they'd have a deficit of 762,000 at least. But this is the water district. There's only, because in 2024, they had $154,000 in red, that's part of the 762. But
It adds up.
500, I believe, 500 something thousand of that loan is for the capital projects
So where would that 500 ever come back from,
bond.
that you
Where-
still have to do?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Which is going to be on top of this
Yeah.
service that we're paying now.
So the debt will go down, but
Yeah,
the
that's true.
expenses will go up.
Yeah, because, right, we're still trying to figure out the whole Druryville, what our actual costs are going to be. Once we kind of know, but there's some other issues that have to be resolved, and then we can go to bond on that. And maybe at that point, we might be able to look at what is it, the sand filters, on the timing of that, maybe we can
Do
put
the
those
bonds
bonds together.
That Druryville project, I don't know if you followed up on the Peter Arkham thing, trying to get him to pay for some of it.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of like not responding to me on that.
Maybe he'll respond next year when he's running.
Yeah, I will, I'll hit him up again on that. I get it.
Just so everyone knows, that was several $100,000 because of an aqueduct project in the Catskills that district had to pay to put a pump in the middle of the reservoir in case it went too low. They drained the reservoir, ran out of money, and then they didn't do the project, they filled it back up, and now they're not doing the project for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, no.
Projected longer than that.
More than
Is it?
that, yep.
So
Bruce is
they,
gonna tell
the
us.
state screwed that district out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Peter Harkin will, or our representatives will step up and help pay. Well,
I'd just
What'd I
like to
say?
add,
oh, city.
just so you have a general idea of what happens from week to week, month to month. Mike Burdick from the Highway Department is setting up Brewster Heights to get paved next year. So he's replacing all the piping, all the drainage. And one of the things that I would have never thought of until somebody said it, there's about 15 to 20 shut-off valves in the roadway, and they're usually about 3 feet deep. So since they're gonna be paving, they have to go in there and make sure all of those things are operating. And if they're not operating correctly, they have to replace them. So that's like an expense that you wouldn't, you can't kind of prepare for. So like, it's things like that that just, they keep adding up, and, you know, I just, sorry, Ron, go ahead.
No.
You want to move on, or are you still talking about Pierce Heights?
No, I'm good.
And anyone from the public, you're going to be able to come up later and ask some questions. We're not trying to dismiss you, we're just trying to get it all out there. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, so Star Ridge, 2026, the rates are going from 145 to 150, $5 a quarter, $20 for the year. That's minimal. Last year, we went up $10 a quarter. The district has decent fund balance. And it's the same thing, the reason why we raised it. We didn't want to not raise any districts. We have to raise them a little bit for the cost of everything, the electricity, things like that.
And,
And George is going to talk about PFAS
okay.
when he comes on up for that.
Okay, Fox Hill, 2026, going from 440 to 453. It's a $13 per quarter increase, $52 for the year. One of the reasons why last year, Fox Hill had a big increase. It was one of the highest the districts had. And because you can see in 23, they were running a $45,000 deficit. In 24, it's went slightly up by 47,000. And so we raised rates in 25, and it looks like, based on my projections, that we're going to have a surplus of 32,000. So eliminated more than half of that by raising those rates. So that was good. I mean, we would have liked to get it back to zero, but that's a big step for this district because it's a very small district, and they've been running in the red for a few years. So I think they're headed in a good direction there. Mountain Brook, 2026 rate, 338 from 325. It's a $13 per quarter increase, $52 for the year, and it's the same logic with most of the other districts. The increase of what everything costs and the electricity. Peaceable Hill went from 490 to 505. That's a $15 increase per quarter, $60 for the year. And it's pretty much, as I've been saying all night, cost of things and electricity. It did project there is a deficit in 2025, and that happened because if anybody here who lives in that district knows that we added 2 properties, hooked up their lines from the main line into them. We did get money from the sale of the property, but it didn't cover all of it. So that's why there's the projected deficit for by the end of this year. But the fund balance is in good shape.
There's still a couple more properties coming online, right?
I believe there is, yeah.
Yeah.
So that will help, because once they get online, then they start paying. Okay, Blackberry Water. 2020, we have homes and we have condos. The homes do not have, no, they take that back. The homes went from 31 to 32, it's a dollar increase, $4 for the year. The condos went from 125 to 129, it's a $4 per quarter, $16 for the year. Just somebody might have a question why the homes and condos are different rate. The homes are metered and the condos are not. And that's the reason why.
And another crazy fact, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the condos, we run a meter to the entrance at the condos. Anything past that meter, the development takes care of. So like in all of the other districts, we take care of all the water main feeds. But in this particular district, for the condos, they take care of it all.
Maintenance.
So, yeah, so it's, because I didn't explain earlier that for the public, all of these districts except for Peaceable Hill Road were basically handed to the town in disarray. So the town had to make sure they were operable. And, you know, like I said earlier, years of no maintenance, it caught up. And we're trying to fix this. Keep going around, sorry.
Hillcrest, 2026 rates are 106, up $3 from 25. That's $12 for the year. Minimal increase, as I said before, pay for increase in costs and electricity, and this district, the fund balance is in good shape. Springhouse, 2026 rate is $711. It's an increase of $21 per quarter, $84 for the year. Same thing, rates for inflation and electricity costs.
Ron,
Their fund balance is in good cost, and some people might say, well, how come their rates are so high? Well, there's only 54 units there, and I forget the year, but 5-6 years ago, they built a whole new plant, and they're still paying the bond, which doesn't mature until 2044.
Ron, there's a bond on here maturing
Yeah, there's
in a
a
year,
small bond that matures next year.
so that won't have a big impact.
Yeah, the big one is the one that goes out to
2044.
2044. That was for when they built the new plant there.
Oh, it's further down the road, right?
What's that?
From the old one.
From the old one, that's right. It's a different location.
It's outside the swamp.
There is
Yes, exactly.
there is lots that were subdivided out of that village, that district and sold, I believe, right? Are they paying into this or no? I don't think there's homes built.
They haven't been developed yet.
Do they pay, they don't pay while they own the land?
I do not believe they don't pay a base capital charge.
Yeah,
The ones, the undeveloped land that came from where they
Probably
built
not.
the water plant.
They should, right?
Yeah, if you're in the district and you're not connected, we do charge them a capital charge.
Okay.
It's very minimal, right?
Yeah. Okay, last district, Birch Hill. It's another small district. 2026, rates are $475, up from $450. It's $25 a quarter, $100 for the year. Same thing, inflation and spike in electricity costs. And unfortunately, I believe this is the smallest district. There's only 24 people sharing in these costs. And last year, we increased the rates because we had to prepare for the PFAS treatment. And you can see they have a very small fund balance based on the number of residents. So we like to keep that the same.
Thank you, Ron. Don't go far.
I can't go?
Bruce, I see some of the water test results that come through, and I've noticed there's been a few other districts that are
Creeping up.
on PFAS. What's the criteria? Does it have to be a certain number of quarters in a row to be flagged as a official PFAS? And what communications need to go out?
4 is the number that we have to,
Right. 4 parts per trillion.
per trillion, correct. In terms of the moving averages of those or the frequency, I'm going to yield to George and VRI on that. That gets very complicated very quickly,
Okay.
and it's kind of a moving target.
Okay.
A lot of what I was going to talk about was already discussed with Nick's comments, but I just wanted to give you the to-do list of items that are going to need to be done, again, in the 3 to 5 year time frame here. Not really putting numbers on it, but stuff we know is coming. Brewster Hill wastewater, they're going to need some electronic equipment, an EQ panel replacement.
Blackberry, you mean?
No, Brewster Heights.
Oh, okay, you said Hill.
Brewster Heights. A CMF backwash panel. I don't have numbers for those. Those are not huge hits. The next one, the oxidation ditch, that's going to be a lot of money. I think George is going to give us a better guesstimate there. Other items there include a mud well panel replacement, and there too they're going to need a sand filter replacement, or if not, just a repair to extend the current life. Brewster Heights water, the big one there, we've been talking about it, are the 3 sand filters that are going to need replacement in the next 3 to 5 years. We have put in for some grant funding on that. We have not gotten a response. But when we put in for those grants in the spring, we were using a $1.5 million estimate for replacement.
Bruce, those were the stainless ones, right?
What we're hoping to replace it with is a stainless.
Yeah, because
The ones
apparently
there now are
steel.
steel, right.
And George had brought up, after a while, you can't fix steel anymore.
It keeps on getting thinner and thinner, and then there's nothing
And-
there to replace.
And those things are 40 years old, so the stainless apparently will almost double the life of a steel. So that's why we kind
Is that a partial funding grant or?
Partial.
Does it have the percentage in there?
I believe it's 80.
80%, okay.
Brewster. Okay, so moving over to Blackberry wastewater. Some of these projects have been completed, but they needed new lighting inside of the buildings there. We did a smoke test on all the sewers there to look for leaks. They've just completed that. Fortunately, nothing out of the ordinary showed up there, so we're good with that. There is a EQ discharge pipe that I think George might mention too, between some of the tanks that goes underground. This is one of the original pieces of plumbing there, and it was put in a very circuitous route. We're redoing it so it eliminates some of the 90-degree turns there so we can get a better flow. The pumps will operate better. Everything will be easier. We're just waiting for the health department? Now it's the DEC to give us approval to bury that and put it to bed. What else? And then in Blackberry water, there is a pressure tank that is going on 40 years old that is starting to show its life, and that's going to have to be replaced at some point. And then the other 2 districts with big projects for the PFAS are Hillcrest, Hillcrest is going to need new pipes at some point in the future. Those are galvanized pipes that are 40-plus years old, and they're brittle and going to need to be replaced. Star Ridge and Birch Hill, those are the 2 big ones with PFAS. We're working with George and WRT to use some of the technology that they are using down in North Salem, right down the road from Star Ridge. This is the ion exchange way of doing it instead of the GEC. It's much easier, it's better for the scale projects that these have, and we're just going through the approval process. And for those two projects, you had already previously secured, I believe it was $840,000 to be split between the two.
No, 1.2 for Star Ridge, over 8 for Birch Hill.
Oh,
Yeah.
better still.
So that's an 80% or two, so.
Correct.
Depending
But
on
if the cost of these constructions come down, that number's gonna.
It's going to scale down, right, but
was
it's
a 70.
significantly less building costs.
70%, Matt, if I recall.
So, just to touch, we met with Wendy the other day, and one of the big things we were talking about was notification of some things, like the water tests and things like that. What are we putting on the website so that people can?
Well, we have, and we will continue to do the annual AQRs. That comes out every spring.
But we talked about quarterly stuff.
Oh, we were gonna do Bruce is gonna do a quarterly meeting here, just like this, like an update, quick update.
Okay.
On all the districts, in case anything changes.
It's a little challenging to get all the test results out because not everything is tested for every month. So it's gappy.
Right.
Yeah,
and-
so
and-
we'll work around.
And the bottom line
getting
is,
here.
as you said, I mean, if something tests above a limit, we're required by the health department to reach out immediately, so nothing's being hidden.
Right, so if no news is good news,
Right,
basically,
exactly.
for the districts, when it comes to the water testing numbers.
We did help a lady with the smoke test, right?
A couple?
So, pulling up.
Oh.
Bruce and I went out to look, to see what it was. And basically, they put a big fan on a manhole and they blow smoke. And it
Literally.
follows the sewer and it comes out the other manholes. And some woman was talking to the guys doing the job. Apparently, her kitchen filled with smoke.
Oh, gosh.
The pipe underneath her sink must have been disconnected or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so we kind of helped somebody. It's pretty funny. Yeah, for sure. All right.
Let
So
me
big
yield to
job.
George and
Do
you
you
can
guys
take
got
questions.
questions for Bruce?
For those
Oh,
quarterly,
sorry.
no, it's all right. For the quarterly meetings, I would like to push alerts out to the districts, just let them know.
Yeah.
I don't think one went out for tonight.
No, and, Bruce and I were kind of loosely talking about what those meetings should contain. I think we can put some framework in, some structure for those meetings, just meant to be a quick update, here's what's going on, district's in good shape, just to kind of keep the conversation moving throughout the year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody tap George. Looks like he's had a long day. George, thanks for coming.
This is great. It's great to hear all the information. I gained a lot. Good evening, council members, supervisor. If you want to start with the slides. Yep, just a couple of things to note. I know Ron mentioned electrical charges going up. Lab costs go up too. When you send these tests out to the labs have to charge more because the tests get more expensive and they get harder to do. The chemicals that they need to run the tests, those go up. And as you mentioned, Supervisor, that the DOH regulates the amount, the frequency and whatnot. There's no way around it. You can't say, I want to test less. It's mandated. We are going to work with VRI regarding equipment. I sense tonight you don't want the needle to move on your costs. You want it to move very little. Ron mentioned that he's trying to keep a nice steady fund balance. And we're going to work with VRI to look at their list of equipment, look at life cycles, see what kind of time is left on equipment. We usually do a 5-year projection. So 5 years out, you know how long something's going to last. If it's going to last a year, it's going to last 2 years. And VRI has a nice list of what's a high priority, medium priority, low priority. And they've kind of mapped a little bit of that out already. So we're just going to help them fine tune that and then put some cost to that. So I know Tyler has been working with one of the electrical companies to get some numbers for some panels. Because you share a number and you say it's 100,000 and a week later it's 150, everyone gets upset. So that's got to get some real hard numbers for people so that it doesn't balloon out of, you budget for one thing and then it turns into something else. So, do you have my presentation? Or?
You sent it to me?
I think so.
It's in, it was in an email, right?
Yeah.
Rich, that
Yeah.
email, it came a couple days ago. You know, I don't know if Bruce wants to.
Keep talking, George.
Okay.
Yeah, or if George, you want to
Sure,
do
no
a
problem.
quick summary. I think the role of VRI, a lot of people don't understand why we have a company like VRI, so just a quick summary as to why they're in place.
Sure. You need a water operator for all your systems. They need certain levels of certification. I'm a water operator, in addition to being a licensed engineer. The grades go from A, B, C, and D. The more complicated your system, the higher the level of grade you need. And they have to go out there daily. They have to check coliforms. They have, again, this goes back to the Department of Health. They have to do regular testing, and then there's special testing. You have PFAS, you have VOCs, you have all sorts of things that need to be tested on a 5-year basis, 3-year basis. A lead and copper is a 3-year basis. 5-year basis is Sanitary Code Part 5, which has a wide array of testing. So you need an operator, and they're an on-call company. If something goes wrong, they show up in the middle of the night, they fix whatever needs to be fixed, they address whatever comes up. It was mentioned earlier about if there's an exceedance of a level. So there's levels of notifications. There's Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Each one requires a certain type of notification. One's a 24-hour notification. One is the kind that ends up in an annual water quality report, where you might have not reported something on time, so that ends up in a water quality report. And then there's the more immediate ones, the tier 1s, I believe, are the ones where you need to boil water or do something because something's seriously awry.
And essentially, a company like that is, we're regulated to have them in place.
You're regulated to have them in place.
Okay.
You need a licensed operator for each system.
Okay, thank you.
And they do have to record their information daily. And there's an annual sanitary survey where the health department comes out and they check all your records. They make sure you've done everything properly. So there's a lot of recording, record keeping and recording that needs, so if something goes wrong, you have those records and you have that information handy and you can say, I was doing the right thing at the time when this went wrong. So.
Yep, thank you.
We did mention grants. DEP usually pays 80% for certain items. And then we did have a good meeting with the DEC and EFC, which represent the WQIP and the WIA grants. And those are 70-30 and 70-20, 70-30 and 80-20 matches on, for funding. And as Ron mentioned earlier, the $1 million for the filters, that's a place marker. You got to start somewhere. And when you have these grants and these matches, you're not going to get to that $1 million. But what you'd hope to do is get to the 20 or maybe the 30% of the match. That's the important part. So out of $1 million, you might have to come up with $300,000, and then hopefully somewhere along the line, like a Harcum grant or some other grant comes along where you can put money into it. But that's, or you have to go to a ban, and you usually have a ban where you fund the balance of it for a year, and then you change the band into a long-term loan, correct? So your 1-year loan for construction now turns into a 20-year, and you spread that out over time.
George, is there a page on here, Nick? Or
Is there something here explaining those?
is there something we should be looking at?
Oh, great, thank you. So that's an overview of the districts that we looked at specifically because they have higher needs. They have the PFAS. So we have Birch Hill, Brewster, Star Ridge, Blackberry, Brewster Heights, and Bruce and Ron have gone through them in detail tonight, but if you could advance them. So water districts. So Birch Hill, as mentioned, it's a 24 service connections. It's just not very big. And very low usage, 2,900 gallons a day. It's very small. And there's some facts on there. You can share that on the website if people want to look at it to see, what their system is made of. Storage tank pump house. So we're talking about PFAS and treatment. This is the treatment that's down the road in North Salem. It's the alternative to GAC. It's ion exchange. It's actually an absorptive media, ion exchange, where PFAS comes in. The resin that's in these containers absorbs the PFAS. It's very selective. And then it goes out into the system. It goes out treated. And these work in pairs, where the first one is the primary treatment and the second one is the polishing. And that's the way the health department wants it to be.
You guys were involved with North Salem, right?
Correct. We actually have one system we're putting out to bid, which is Sunset Ridge, putting it out to bid in the next few weeks. We just need a parts list for the contractor. And we try to put these, what's nice about these, you said you had 800,000 and 1.2 million. These are a lot lower in cost. Just the cost of the equipment was $180,000. So that gives you a lot of room to do other things like buildings and in Birch. So you have a waiver of disinfection, and the health department is going to want you to drop that waiver, and now you're going to have to put in chlorine into the system. So that's got to be included in this process. And then we also have to look at your storage tanks and your other equipment in there. And we could possibly use that money to replace something in there using that grant above and beyond what we've planned for just the treatment. So in other words, let's say your tank is aging out and you want to replace that extra money could go to replacing the tank because you need now contact time. So the chlorine can't just go out to the system. You got to put it in, it's got to go through the tank in 30 minutes, and then it's got to go out to the system. So it's kind of an opportunity to make that investment as well. And next slide. So that's the Brewster Heights Water District. You've mentioned several times tonight that the red line is an outline of the system. The yellow line is the line coming up from the reservoir. That's another picture. The yellow line's coming from the reservoir, which has a pump house that you mentioned at the last meeting. I've looked at that meeting, and it's in litigation, or could be in litigation, so I won't say too much about it. These are the filters that we keep talking about that are going to be stainless steel, and they're called Trident systems, we've mentioned tonight. These are usually proprietary pieces of equipment. Not too many people make them. There's a handful of companies that make them, so it's very, and not make just Trident, but make their own brand of Trident. So Trident's a company that makes these steel containers that have sand, anthracite, and select gravel in them to filter water.
George, one of the questions was last week, why do we have to use these, right?
So the health department requires you to have a certain level of treatment. And
No, actually what I meant by that is the plant is set up for these filters. If we replace these filters with a different type of filter, the plant then would have to be adjusted somehow, correct?
so that's where I was going.
Oh,
So
okay, sorry.
no problem. So you need a certain amount of filtering that the health department requires. If you wanted to change that to another type of technology or another type of treatment, that would have to go back to the health department. They would have to approve it, and that gets a little more complicated because then you have to prove that technology out. You can't just say, okay, this is going to work here, because these filters, they have chemicals added to them, they flock, which means they create larger particles so that the sand catches them and they can be skimmed off or backwashed out, and it's a process. So when you change technologies, then you have to do pilot systems and testing. Just repairing what you have in place is more friendly to the health department and everyone else, and more economical for them to change out. So changing technology is not easy. And then Brewster Heights Water District, Star Ridge. Star Ridge, we talked about the 1.2 million. This is similar to Birch, where Delaware had a proposed system that had granular activated carbon, also known as GAC. And we're going to try to use the same WRT, makes the ion exchange process, the ion exchange equipment with the resins and the filters. The good thing, and why we used it in North Salem, is not only is it lower in cost, it's lower in maintenance. GAC has a backwash requirement, and it creates a waste stream. That waste stream has to be collected, hauled off-site, and then it's a continuous process. Absorptive media does not have a waste stream. So it goes in, it's absorbed onto the media, and it goes out. And we're talking about parts per trillion, so that's very, very small. These units last, depending on the water quality, 3 to 5 years. And it depends on other constituents that you have in the water. So if you have something like sulfur or any other chemical that might use up the resin, as we say, instead of the PFAS or what you're trying to treat, that reduces the life as well. So, but they try to make the resin as selective as possible, but you can't control the water that's coming in. So. And that's a sample of, to the left is a bag filter, to the top is a manifold with valves, and those are the tanks that are used to treat the water.
So, the only difference between the two, and even if we have to start looking at Springhouse, is just Star Ridge is going to have a couple more canisters, basically.
They will have more, and we touched on this a minute ago about when you have multiple canisters, the problem with that is sometimes the health department wants more testing. So in talking to WRT, they're trying to make the canisters larger so that if the health department says, oh, you've got to test each canister or each what we call treatment train, then that reduces that cost. So instead of having 6 smaller ones, you maybe have 3 larger ones. So.
Okay.
George, when you speak of the health department approvals, are you talking about the state health department, or are you talking about local?
So in Westchester County, they have pushed this onto the state and have the state reviewing them. And Putnam County will probably do the same thing. They have the state, and since you have a grant, they'll also have the state looking at it.
What's going on.
They know what's going on.
Yeah.
We've already made contact with them, and we've worked with them in the past, so it should be a smooth process. You're welcome. Blackberry Hill Sewer District. So that's a description of the process, which mentions settling. You have an EQ tank, equalization tank, rotating biological reactor, chemical, secondary clarifier, and UV disinfection.
That plant was built in 71? I thought it was later than
but it was upgraded.
Rebuilt.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
rebuilt,
that's it,
so-
okay, in the 80s, right?
The 90s. Wasn't it rebuilt after, after the watershed agreement?
I'm not sure of the date.
So that would have been in the 90s, because that's when the city of New York got involved in picking up the cost of the tertiary treatment.
Correct. So that's when they switched. They used to have a chlorination system, and now you have a UV system, you have other processes. That's why I provided this list. So you have a Speedies permit that goes along with the sewer system. So these are some of the things that you have to meet certain levels: biological oxygen demand, suspended solids, fecal coliform, ammonia, dissolved
George.
oxygen, et cetera.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
Sure.
I know it's kind of getting late, and I know people wanted to talk.
Sorry.
Probably, so we probably don't need to get too much in the weeds here unless they have questions.
Sure. And then this one was what Bruce had mentioned before about a sewer line, a force main is the picture on the bottom. And so it's good to have a picture of what these panels look like. So that's an 8-foot tall electrical panel that's 4 foot wide with all the electronics to run the pumps and the systems to make sure that everything's moving in the right direction at the right flows and the right speeds. I think that's close to being it. And that's just the layout of that was the oxidation ditch.
82, well,
That's the oxidation ditch and the filter. So those are the two larger projects. And that's it,
hey,
at the end.
so, what I'm gonna do is, if anyone from the public wants to come up now to ask questions on what we just, come on up. We'll just take care of it now so that it's fresh in everybody's mind.
Hi, my name is Michelle Hamburg. I live in Eagles Ridge. I have a lot of questions. So there's 138 units in Eagles Ridge, and from what you mentioned, only 24 of them are metered. How do I get mine metered? Because the price difference between the metered and the non-meter is almost $200. So it's kind of ridiculous.
So here's the answer to that. We discussed this thoroughly this week. Apparently, when the condos were built, the 24 units that have meters, the meters were put in. Each condo has a separate pipe from outside that goes into the home, and then the meter hits the meter, and it goes through the house. There must have been a second phase for those condos, and when they did that, they piped into the building, through the building, and out the building. So each condo is working off the same exact pipe coming into the building. It's not separated at all. So to put a meter in, basically would have to run piping to each condo separately from that feed to be able to put a meter on it. And I think Joe said $6,000 or so per unit. And if you do one unit, you have to do the whole building, which I think there's multiple units in each building.
And I
Hey.
thought we had heard you had to do interior work, which we
No,
can't
that's,
do.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's why they never, it probably most likely will never be addressed, because that would have to be on the district or the actual individual, right? Yeah,
But everybody would have to agree to do it.
yes.
It couldn't just be one person.
And I don't think we could do the work in the interior of the condo.
Right.
We
That's
wouldn't
a
be allowed
private
to.
contract,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Amber, before you go on, I just have a question for Ron. And Nick, I don't know if you could pull up the Brewster Heights water, but
That number? those
yeah,
numbers.
the Eagles Ridge metered units went up to $300. Is that, or no,
No.
it went down
It went
to
down,
$300.
right.
And then the non-metered are
Went up 40.
$425. The metered pays for usage from gallon one. That's a question. And, you know, are those averaging close to the 425? with the metered usage in there? And, you know, is that something that we should look at? Because it.
I just think that the difference is outrageous between $300 by somebody who has a meter and $425.
But there, I guess
I understand. I sincerely doubt that I use 15,000 gallons in a quarter.
You'd be surprised. But again, this is, we kind of have to go through a cycle to see if the numbers are close.
I understand. The fact is that even then, you know, between a single-family house, I just think that the difference shouldn't be $125. I think it could be a little bit more equitable, where, you know, somebody's paying $300 and then because of the way my unit was built, I'm paying $425 is kind of insane.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I just did some quick math, and Ron, we should look at this, because we could look at the usage rates for the metered ones. If you use 10,000 gallons a quarter, which I think is on the low end, they would be paying $400 versus the $425. So that would be an extra $100 for the quarter, because they're paying a penny for every gallon as well.
I mean, if nothing else, we could take the total that goes into the non-metered and divide it by the 114 and, you know.
Well, like he's
'cause-
saying.
Right, but it averages 12,500 gallons. She'd break even at 12.5.
Yeah.
If the whole thing averages 10, or if the whole thing averages 15,
Right.
at least we could explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Is
maybe
that-
the whole thing averages 12.5 and it's the right number.
Yeah, we could probably even look at those gallon usages from last year to see.
Well, you get quarterly reads, right? Yeah, so maybe we could look at that. But I don't disagree with you.
I just think it's kind of insane, you know,
I
that
don't
even,
think-
even within Eagles Ridge, that some units are going, their water is going down $55 and mine is going up 40. Because they have a meter and I don't.
But it's going down, and then they're gonna pay for water. Like, their bill's not going down. They're going from 355 to 300, but then they have to pay for water now.
Yeah, yours is a flat
Usage,
rate, no matter how
right.
much water you use.
So, like the 125 that you're using, let's say you only use 10,000 instead of 12,500.
That would be another $100 that they have to pay.
No, but you would only be saving $25. Like, we're
Per
not,
quarter.
we're not wrong the whole 125 is what I'm saying, because you
I
use some
understand.
water, yeah.
You could call my office this week or next week, and after we look at the numbers, we'll let you know what we found, and we'll see if we can, if
Yeah,
there's
just-
something we can do.
Take the
Okay.
total, divide it by 114, and that's our
See
number.
where it is. Yep.
Okay, I understand. And then something I wasn't like completely clear with what you were saying, with the money that we're getting, that now we may have to pay back. Is that something that is being, I think you said it was like $90,000 in estimation from,
You talking about the sewer?
yes,
Yeah. Ron, I think you had said that there's a settle up with the DE.
DE.
with the DEP that now
Yeah.
we may have to pay back, or you may have to pay back?
But the money's already in the district, so.
I was gonna say, like, that's not something, that was my question, it's not something that is new factored in there, because it's already been paid for.
Yeah, the fund balance was good there, yeah. Planned for that.
Okay, so is that something that kind of goes into escrow, or is just kind
No, it
of,
stays in the district. And then
Okay.
when this EP reconciles, what happens is typically.
Ron, can you come to the
Yeah,
mic?
yeah.
Sorry, so it's on the recording.
Yeah, what happens with the DEPs, they pay us quarterly based on a yearly budget. So what will happen is they usually reconcile around this time of the year. So when we put in our first quarter payment, it gets reduced by any amount that we owe. So the billings going forward, they'll get reduced. Sometimes it takes 2 billings, depending on what has to be given back. Sometimes they owe us money, so we collect more in those quarters.
And there's a healthy fund balance in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Half
Yeah,
a million
that fund
dollars.
balance
Yeah,
was
that's
good.
why I mentioned it, because it was a big fund balance, but I I suspect that some of that is going to get lowered because we got to reconcile with them and pay back.
Thanks, Ron. Does anyone else want to come and ask us?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
My name's Alan Levy. I live in Star Ridge Manor. I've been before you guys a couple of times now. The first time was a year and a half ago in June of '24. And what prompted my coming to the meeting and a number of other people from Star Ridge Manor on that night was the fact that the change in parts per million went from 10 down to 4, and that triggered the fact, or we started hearing that we were going to have to do something about that, or the town was going to have to do something about that for Star Ridge Manor. So I know a number of things have gone on since we were here back then. Among them, Delaware Engineering is no longer part of this process, and the idea of doing some sort of osmosis has been sort of tabled as too expensive, and that's why we're landing on the ion exchange.
It was GAC, yeah.
GAC, okay.
We learned way too much about water.
Yeah.
So there's three things really. I want to try to be as brief as possible that I'm interested in. One is implementation, 2 is cost, and 3 is health. So as far as implementation is concerned, a year and a half has gone by. From our perspective, we have PFAS. Nothing has happened yet. I'm curious as to whether there is a timeline yet for implementation.
Well, we're digging in, so I don't know, George, would you have an idea?
Sure.
George, can you come to the mic for the recording?
So as mentioned, the district has $1.2 million, and they do have a plan for the GAC system, and we are now working with the Ion Exchange Company to submit to the health department a new plan close to the same concept. When I say concept, I mean same building, piping, same kind of treatment. That's going to take probably, I would say 2 months to do. So probably by January, February, we'll have a submission to the health department. Scope of work, we have to explain to them why we're changing, how it's not going to impact health, and that the treatment will work. We have to prove that to them. We have to mention to them, you know, here's all the constituents in the water, here's how the system removes it, and they have to approve that, and that takes some time as well. And then once the health department approves it, then we can move forward with putting it out to bid and construction and moving that process forward. So
GAC is much less expensive, or I'm sorry, GAC is more expensive, that solution, than what we're
Yeah.
moving with.
And this is the same system the new system is the same one that you already have running in Westchester, correct?
Salem.
correct, in North Salem, right
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
And actually, there'll be 3 of them in North Salem. One's going out to bid, and they've been using it inadvertently because they were treating for uranium. And as they were treating for uranium, they were testing for PFAS, and they found out, oh, we have no PFAS. Why don't we have any PFAS? PFAS is coming in, there's none going out. They were actually piloting it without knowing they were piloting the removal of PFAS, so it worked out well for them.
So what's your best guess for start on this project timeline?
So, as I mentioned, going through the health department process, I want to say getting to something to them in January, then they have to review it. Hopefully getting a spec together in March, and then implementing something in the summertime, and then having something built maybe by the end of the year.
Okay.
I gotta believe the construction's gonna be the shortest part of everything.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly.
I would assume the Department of Health is probably your
Is-
variable there.
It is. Getting through them is difficult, and if they don't like the comparison that you make to another system, so that system in Croton Falls, we're using that to compare constituents in there to what you have. If they say, oh, your pH is a lot different, your total suspended solids are different, or something is really out of whack, they're gonna say, well, now you have to do like an in-place pilot test where you put this equipment in, test it while it's in, and then if it doesn't prove out, then you have to go to do something else, which you don't really want to do.
So on a quarterly basis, Bruce, like this would be a good update for
Yeah.
the next quarter meeting, where we are in that process. Something like this would be what we'd want to hear about.
And we also want to hone in on the numbers, because that's what the budget season's about, is the numbers, to see, make sure that that 1.2 is still a real number, because that's what you want to know. So where we're at in the process and the number.
Okay.
He mentioned he had two questions. Just step back a little bit, let him ask.
I'm sorry.
Just in case we need.
Yeah, the next actually pertain to the 1.2 million. So I think I heard in conversation earlier tonight that the 1.2 million is representative of 80% of the cost, and is that the maximum amount that we could receive, or that the town can receive?
70/30, I think.
It was 70.
70%.
So that
So it would be a
GAC
70/30.
system cost that much more than this WRT system.
Well, the GAC system, I think, came out to over $2 million.
Yeah, that-
for your-
Right, so I guess the logical question is, will we be able to use the 1.2 million in its entirety, and how much of the ion exchange system will be covered by this grant or a version of this
It's
grant?
still 70/30.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the only good thing is if the WRT system costs 200,000, 30% of that is way less than 2 million.
Of course,
So that's
Right.
what we're kind of hoping is going to make the difference, that the number's not crazy.
right.
So I don't know the answer to this. If you received a grant for up to $1.2 million, 70% match, right, 70/30, is that 70% of 1.2? Or can the 70% be,
Now, that number was based upon the
Original cost.
expected cost of the project,
right, is 1.2 the total, or is 1.2 the 70%?
70%.
That's the 70%, okay.
So, as a general statement, we know that the ion exchange is going to be less money, but we just don't know how much less.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
it definitely considerably, I can say that without a doubt, but.
right.
And then
And-
less money to maintain.
And so I know that, I believe there was some conversation when we were first here about a bond being floated to cover the other 30% that Starridge Manor residents would be required to pay. If the number is significantly less with ion exchange, would you still float a bond, or how would that be managed?
We'd have to see what that number is and make a decision.
Right.
When we get there.
Okay.
But I kind of believe that we might not have to.
I
The
thought-
number should not be nearly as big, but
Right.
like I said,
I
we don't
understand.
know until it's there. so.
Okay. All right, so that covers implementation and cost. And the last question I have is health. And it does sound like it's going to finally start moving forward quickly. I want to remind the board that I do have a dog in this hunt. I am the guy who had renal cancer 3 years ago, stated October 19th. And we know, I don't know where it came from, but we know that renal cancer, that PFAS is a cause of renal cancer. And so I've been there for 31 years. I don't want to see any of the young families that are moving in be in a position to be exposed to anything like that. And so I'm not going to be around that long, but some of those young kids are, and so I'm concerned about that. And I just want to make sure that that's not forgotten as we look at systems and costs. There's the human factor too. I think Brad wanted to ask some specific questions.
Actually, I can speak to that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the system is intended to take PFAS down to non-detect, which means the best testing can get down to, so they set the limit at 4. They would set it to 0 if they could. But the best testing can bring it down to about 1.8 milligram, parts per trillion, down to parts per trillion. So that's, when they say non-detect, you see that in test results and whatnot. doesn't mean zero. It means actually as good as the test can detect. So that's really 1.82. So something to keep in mind. So, and PFAS, there's 15 or 20 PFAS elements, but only certain ones are regulated and certain ones are taken out. So you got to keep that in mind too, because there's what's called long chain PFAS and there's short chain PFAS. So the long chains come out easy, the short chains do not come out easy.
So you shouldn't drink your water. I don't drink my water.
I don't drink my
No one
water.
should drink their water.
I probably shouldn't
So-
drink mine, I have a well too.
But,
No one.
no, you should get, I don't know.
Get
You
a
probably
bottled
shouldn't even
water.
drink bottled water either, it's in plastic.
So I know myself, I have a carbon filter under my sink
Me
and
too.
I have a special tap for that and that's what I use to cook and all that kind of stuff, so. You're welcome.
Good evening, I'm Bradley Schwartz, I also live in Storage Manor. I have a few technical questions about the filtration system. Has the GAC, or what I'll call the carbon system, has one of those actually been approved for Storage Manor, or were plans submitted to the health department?
I believe they were.
Yeah, I believe he just said yes, yeah. earlier.
Yeah.
They were submitted.
And did the health department approve that system?
So it was at.
Oh, George, sorry, come to the mic.
I'm sorry.
We'll get a wireless one soon for you, Joyce.
So it was at the point where they haven't reviewed it because the town got to the point where an alternate technology, which is the media came about, where they reached out to the developer, so we might have another technology to use. So they have a set of plans, but they're not reviewing them right now until we give them the ones for the ion exchange.
The next question is there going to be multiple ion exchange units in series?
Correct.
And so I assume like the lead unit will be expired first,
Correct.
and then that's going to be detected by some sampling?
Correct.
And what happens to that expired unit?
That gets hauled away.
So well, why don't you explain that?
Okay, so in the smaller units, they take the canister away, they haul it away, they bring a new one in. The lead canister, which is the primary one, that's the one that gets hauled away. The secondary canister, which is the polishing one, becomes the lead canister, and then the new one becomes the polishing. So that way, if we have what's called breakthrough, if the first canister has a detect of above that 1.82 or 4 or whatever, as soon as it breaks through, it comes through, it hits the second canister and it's still coming out with clean water. So you never have bad water. You'll find out that there's a problem before it gets into the system.
But the answer to my question is that the tank gets physically taken away and a new tank with new media gets installed.
Correct.
And I assume these things are piped so that at any time, any one of the three, if you have three, could be the lead one. The last question is, you mentioned possibility of other, I'll call them contaminants in the water or substances in the water that could use up the lifetime of the filter.
Correct.
So how is that being addressed? Are water samples going to be sent to WEC to evaluate that in like a plant pilot system?
So they have a handful of, the health department looks at certain substances in the water, and the treatment company looks at certain substances. Their treatment level for what's called total suspended solids is around 450. If the system has less than that, they don't have a concern with the media being used up too quickly. And sulfates, and there's one other one that I can't think of right now that, which I don't think the threshold is not up to the level that they're concerned about. So right now, from the information that we gave them, based on the testing that's been done already, they think it's going to run for 3 to 5 years. So, and all that, all those comparisons are given to the health department and to the treatment company to review and evaluate a few times, actually.
Okay, so they think it's going to last 3 to 5 years, but obviously, you know, you have a list of substances that are tested for in the water, but you don't test for every conceivable thing that could be in there, right? Wouldn't it be more prudent to actually get a larger sample and have that put through this media and evaluate that to see that there's no mystery contaminant in there that's affecting the filtration process?
So,
You
Well, George,
understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
but George, don't we already know what those wells are producing?
We do, and,
Yeah.
and they've all been tested, and we've given those samples to the WRT. They have given us the list of their contaminants or their substances that they're concerned with. So, and they didn't see any red flags in those substances. You could take a larger list, but what happens is those other contaminants or those other things are probably not going to be, I shouldn't say probably, they won't be, because they've piloted and they've run the system in other parts of the country, other states. They've done a lot of testing on it already, so they know how their system's going to react based on what we've given them. Like, for instance, if let's say magnesium was in there, and they said, well, if you could have 10 parts per million of that, and it still won't affect our system. So they're very confident because they've done a lot of systems. So.
That's it, thank you.
Thanks, Bradley.
Thanks.
Good evening, Matt DeRose, Star Ridge as well. I just have 2 questions. The first question is about the ion exchange. So there is wastewater with that? No. There is no wastewater, okay. Do we have a projection with the, I guess what I'm trying to ask is do you have a projection, let's say a 5-year projection of how the rates will increase due to the cost of the new system?
I have no cost, because we don't know the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have like a projected or even like a educated guess on what it would cost the district to run a machine, run a system like that?
There's a lot of moving parts
Yeah.
before.
I think the only thing we know at this point, Matt, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is that it was going to be like, I think it was 2.4 or 2.3 million. And this is going to be less. I don't know if we have anything.
Okay, so how about this then? When we do have concrete numbers, would we be able to then project it? And then in our quarterly meetings,
Yes.
maybe we can, you know, we're the liaisons to our community. So, you know, from you guys to the town to us, you know, it'd be a lot easier for us to disseminate that information to people that they ask us the questions, hey, why is my bill going up $5? And, you know, I try to tell them, you know, go to a meeting, and they just say no, so.
So what will,
I can't imagine why.
So,
especially if they're this long.
It's a good thing they didn't come
so
to
I
the-
just want to put on record, so like, you know, when we get concrete numbers, you know, let's pass that down so that we have that information, so that we could say, okay, 5 years down the road, this ion exchange system is gonna, you know, and I understand the concept behind, you know, creating a fund balance, and, you know, I don't know why we haven't done anything in this town in the past, but, you know, we have to start somewhere, so.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my vision for the quarterly meetings. You know, we don't know what's going to happen in a certain district. Also, you could have something that comes up that needs to be repaired. That would kind of be reported out. So I think progress on a project like this would be an important.
And the Star Ridge project is still projected to be in that same footprint?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll pick up on Matt's question. It seems that if you know that one of these tanks canisters will last 3 to 5 years, you could probably get a ballpark figure for what the cost of one of those units is, irrespective of the construction for the building, the piping, and all that stuff. ballpark figure for the cost of one of these units and say, we're going to have to replace one of these things every 3 to 5 years. And that would give people some idea of what it will be costing to do that.
Sure.
Okay.
That's, at the next meeting, we will have more information. You're welcome.
One more question. Just in regard to the funding, let's say it turns out that we don't need a bond, but we are going to have an increased cost in the water. The project is, once they get the estimates, we're going to have a number and they'll be able to do a projection. Is it possible that we can begin the process and make the pain less by increasing the water charges right away so that it's not as dramatic once the project is complete and the money has to be spent? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, once we get the estimates, we could really then dig in to figure out how we have to
Right.
fund it.
I guess I'm trying to think of ways to mitigate the
Yeah,
pain
yeah,
factor
yeah.
of anything that's dramatic.
Right, Ron, in 2025, part of their increases were to anticipate for this project, correct?
Yes.
So it's been in the works, you've been
Okay.
paying towards it,
Great.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So Alan just reminded me of one more question. So last meeting, you guys mentioned the class action lawsuit, the 3M DuPont. Is that, let's say that it settles and the town of Southeast is able to, I guess, retain some of that class action money. Can that get, posted to the districts, or how does that
It
work?
goes to the district. It's not the town that gets
Yeah.
it. It's actually
And
based
can that-
on the district's application.
Right. And can that be applied post projects and?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's
Go
for.
to your
Okay.
fund.
Will, did I misunderstand? Didn't the district get awarded money from the class action lawsuit, like 50 or 60,000?
Just Birch Hill.
Oh,
Storage.
I thought
we
it was the
ran
other
into
way
a
around.
problem because of the
Right.
initial testing was not done for each well. It was done as an.
Right.
Right,
Oh,
right.
I thought it was the other way around. Okay.
Right.
So it was
So I'm trying to appeal that.
Yeah, you're appealing
Okay.
that.
So that can be applied after the
If
fact.
we're fortunate enough to get some money,
Right.
some of that settlement money,
Right.
it would go to offset the cost
course.
of this project.
Right.
Of your remediation.
Right. Thanks.
Come on, George.
Just wanted to add one other comment. So, in Star-Ridge, there is an existing building, and at this time, we don't think that equipment can fit in that building. So we are going to need some type of building. So we've been mentioning the $200,000. We have to figure in for a building, so we're into at least a $500,000 box. These 20 by 20 building, it's crazy but it's prevailing wage, it's municipal, but just wanted to mention that for the record.
Thanks, George.
Thanks for the good news.
Yeah, gets better and better.
Did you have a question? Yeah. I hope it's not about 67 Main Street.
You really should have.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
He was asking.
You've been very
Hi,
patient.
everybody. I'm Peter Simon. I live on Drewville Road.
Hey,
My only question is regarding segmentation of 67. And correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see any parking set aside for the library, for handicap parking, or potentially for events that may happen at Old Town Hall.
Yeah, so, we were selling the whole thing, which included the parking lots and everything. So we're subdividing, but we're not selling anything yet. But I think to answer your question, none of the parking space will go with the building. If we decide to sell that lot, then I guess at that point we can make requirements. When we were selling the whole piece of land, it didn't matter because there was a 500 spot parking garage and it was going to be connected.
Understood.
Yeah, so, but you are correct, and that's something that we'll definitely have to consider.
Yeah, I think our intention would be if we sold the lot with the building and we still own the parking, we would still just let them use the parking.
Right.
And if it ever got to the point that there was a big village development and we did sell the lot with the parking, I don't know what the future holds, but we would hope that that development would also include parking.
Right,
you know, so that-
because otherwise you.
Right, yeah.
You mitigate the usability of any of the other buildings.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I've actually had conversations with the director from the library, and we've talked about changing some of the signs, because I think there are some library signs, and they only say an hour. And usually the events are an hour. So you need to get there 15 minutes early, you leave 15 minutes late. So we were gonna probably change some signs, but since all of this is going on, you know, we haven't given out tickets there for a
Okay.
while, so.
Because it's just a function of, you know, can anybody use it if there's no place to park? And-
Yeah.
And we know there are people that are taking advantage of the place being open, but that doesn't address the future issue.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm
Thank you.
impressed you waited all this time.
Thanks for
Pardon me?
waiting.
I'm impressed you waited all this time just to ask that one nice question.
I was told I had to wait.
I apologize.
Well, thank
Look-
you.
Look how much you learned about water.
More than I ever wanted.
Okay. So, actually, I gotta make a motion to open the regular meeting.
Oh, God.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the only thing in there is, do we have any new business?
No.
No.
I'll make a
I
mo.
did want to ask you about
Oh.
something, but
Go ahead.
we've been trying to work on the new employee handbook for like a year,
Oh,
and there's some things in that impact our budget.
Yeah.
So there's 5 versions in Teams. None of them look like the final version. Like, I really need you to put it on the agenda to vote, and I
Yeah.
really need you to get a clean version for us to look at.
Yeah, I
So-
think we are down to the wire, so I'll try to get it on for next meeting.
Okay.
Does anybody from the public have a comment? All right,
Scott.
Scott.
oh, hey, sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
My turn. Sorry.
I mean, what else are you going to do on a Thursday night? Oh, how nice.
Spending your money.
This is what I did. It's very sad. Scott Seaman, Town of Southeast,
Hey,
also
Scott.
here from the Board of Education. Just an update on the capital project. The cafetorium is well underway. We're hoping to have the building sealed before winter so the interior work can continue. As you all saw and some attended, the track is open now, and the ground is broken on the field house. It's just slugging along as supply chain, and other items are getting. We're just hoping to get as much done, but we'll be working through the winter on that as well. Supervisor came to a meeting a while ago where we spoke about Route 121 and the traffic light. And I think we all agree that something needs to be done, and the school was willing to help. We're just waiting for something from the town on what you might be looking for. So if something could come to us, then we could get to work on it. If it's traffic studies from the transportation department, numbers on things, just something official from you guys will trigger a response.
I think, I don't know when the next meeting is. The last meeting I went to, it was,
The 19th is the next
okay.
Traffic Safety Board.
You were there, right? They
Yeah.
said they did a traffic study.
Yeah.
I showed them they did, then they said there was no project.
And then we
they said-
restrained you from attacking the lady.
Yeah, then they said they're going to do a traffic study.
Right.
So we should, I'm not gonna be able to go to that, but maybe you could follow up with me. And don't just ask if they're doing it, because they're like, yeah, we'll do one. Ask when it is.
Right, and like I said, that'll trigger us. Now, I'm gonna try to go, I'm gonna ask Ms. Volpe to put me on the schedule so I can ask a question, but I will push that as well on what they're doing and when, and how it's gonna reflect on us.
And the biggest issue there, from what I've learned, is they do not count the sweeps
Yeah.
in the traffic count.
Right.
And the traffic counts are low.
Maybe we should put some cones on the sweep, so everybody's gotta go straight.
Maybe we should
Oh,
all
so
drive
they'll finally have an accident
1,000
then.
times.
And there's no
Yeah.
accidents.
Right.
5 accidents in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once they close, like you said, the access ramps and they do the 684 construction,
increase
it's gonna be a
significantly.
whole nother item. And then just one item as a resident of Southeast, I know you guys have been proactive on vape shops and the battery storage and stuff. I might ask you, just based upon today's, all this information with water and electricity, if we can look into data centers. It might not come to our region, but if they do, they use giant amounts of water and giant amounts of electricity. And if New York State continues with their electrification program and the schools are forced into electric buses, electric demand's going to shoot through the roof, rates are going to shoot through the roof, and then if something like data centers show up in the region, it'd be hard. It'd be much worse than vape shops, much worse than everything else. If it's just something, I don't even know, like, I don't believe this region is really a prime spot for it, but I've been surprised on the industry and how the state operates. You know, us being right on the border of Connecticut, right above Westchester, right all next to all the major transportation routes, you know, that might attract somebody not of the type that we want, but something of this type. So if we could maybe be proactive in looking at these items to see whether or not we do want something in this region, that might be helpful.
It's a good
Thank
idea.
you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, does the school test for PFAS?
Yes, we just upgraded the whole water system with charcoal, I think last year or the year before. Yeah, so far, so good, but PFAS in everything, as we all know. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of what number they want to use to find it. You know, if they say 0.7, they're all good.
I think it's a moving target.
All right, with that, anybody from the board have a comment?
No.
Good night. With that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for waiting.